days of September. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Tom.
I'm Kim.
And we are three old Reds fans coming to you once again from Studio 82, a few blocks from our good friends at Beans in the heart of Cedarville, the birthplace and final resting place of Bumpus Jones. And we have Bumpus Jones news to start. Bumpus Jones Day will be held officially in Cedarville on October 15th. That's a Sunday. And we're going to have vintage baseball here, 1860s style. It's going to start at 1 o'clock down at Massey Creek Park where the soccer fields are. He's going to throw some bases out there. They've got vintage bases that they use. And I'm going to throw them out there and play some ball. So there's a couple teams from the Dayton area going to come up here. The Eastwood Iron Horses and the Dayton Clodbusters are going to face off in 1860s style. They won't use gloves. I think if you catch a ball in one bounce, it's like catching a fly ball. It's an out that way. I think they throw underhanded a lot, pitch. And then at 3 or thereabouts, it's just going to be sort of pickup game stuff. So we can all jump in and play and get involved and have a good time. And anybody that shows up can play. So
that sounds fun. I've always wanted to be playing in October.
Yeah, we're playing in October, but I guess the Reds won't be.
So
for the what time and how many years, Tom?
Yeah, so Jeff, we were just talking about since the year 2000, the Reds have only had 3 winning seasons. So 14. This will be 14 losing seasons.
Was it 10, 11, and 12?
I'm not sure what years it was.
I think those are the years they made the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And we got nine games left for the Reds. And at least one of those games, we'll have a Bronson Arroyo concert after the game, Jeff.
Yeah, that's, I'm sure he'll sing, I don't know if he'll sing as many hits he allowed this year, to that bump boom, but, yeah, that's pretty exciting. That's what we got to look forward to, Bronson Arroyo singing after a game. So hopefully he's a better singer than he was a pitcher this year, for everybody's sake. But, good for him. He's ready to move on with life. Give the Reds a lot of good years. This just wasn't one of them.
Reds have done him well.
Yeah,
this year,
they have.
letting him stick around.
They've treated him well. Yes. And that's good to see. A guy gives that much comes back and gives that much to your organization. It's a good thing to do.
Potential Reds Hall of Famer.
Yeah, absolutely. So when are they doing that Hall of Fame thing? Have they announced that yet?
I haven't seen anything since the people that came up.
We talked about that
for voting.
the last show.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here we are. Like I said, 9 games left. Been seeing a lot of different guys.
People shuffled all over the field, from Peraz in center to Winker at left, Kivlahan at third, all over the place.
Yeah. And was Shebler leading off tonight? Is that right? Did you say that?
He did. He led off tonight.
So, Kim, you probably it seems like you've had a chance to watch a little bit more lately than, at least that I have, with some of the things on my schedule. What have you seen? Anything you like at all the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks?
I think it's about probably 6 weeks ago we were pining away of where we're going to be next year. I think Tom had said we're right back to where we started in terms of pitching. And then almost right after that, Castillo wasn't included in that, but right after that, you saw the consistency develop for Romano and Stevenson. Very, very impressed. Tyler Mahle called up. I think had 4 starts. Only a 1-2 record, but an ERA below 3 if I'm not mistaken. So if we have the 4, so Castillo, Mahle, Stevenson, and Romano. And if we can get Bailey and or DeSclafani, those are 6 right there that you're just thankful for and excited about for next year.
So let me ask you, didn't they shut down a few of those pitchers?
Castillo and Mahle.
My question is, when you shut them down, does that mean they don't throw anymore? Do they stay in the dugout?
I don't know what they're doing with them.
do they still? I would assume they still learn and stay in the dugout. But does somebody take them in the bullpen? Do they work on a off-speed pitch or something? I wonder how that. I don't know the answer to that, but I wonder what that means when they shut somebody down. I don't think they send them home.
No, I think they've been with the club. I think they've been in the dugout. It is a good question about exactly what do they do. You see Finnegan is still in the dugout.
Maybe they learned from Bronson or Royer. You know?
I think they sit there and they obviously they probably do scouting. They probably talk. But your question, do they still throw? Do they still work? Do they still have some sort of regimen of some sort, but on a greater reduced scale? That's a very good question, Tom.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to find that out. So there's a couple things, Jeff, that I've changed my mind on in the past month.
You have?
I have.
DH?
One is never the DH. That's not going to happen.
I don't really care.
I'm going to guess Stevenson and Winker.
I'm not even gonna listen right now. Then if it's not the DH.
So one guy, I've kind of turned around a little bit on is Peralta. I was thinking.
You mean Peraza?
Peraza, sorry, not Wandy. Peraza. I thought no power. This guy's swinging at everything. I just don't see him developing. Well, we've seen in the past month that he's really turned it around, walking more, being more selective, and he's only 23. I saw an article about comparing where Larkin was at 23 to him, and where Cozart was, and those guys. And one of them was still in the minors.
Cozart was not in the majors, if I'm not mistaken.
And so when you look at it that way and you see that he has progressed, I've turned around on him. Schebler and Winkler, why am I doing
I don't know.
Henry Winkler?
Henry
Winkler made an appearance. You guys missed
it. The Fonz just went through my mind.
Winker and Schebler, I was just not very high on Winker, but he's sure taken the bull by the horns and shown.
No, you said you're not high on Winker?
No, I am. I was not.
He wasn't.
You were not.
I was not. I thought his swing was slow and long, and it still kind of looks like that, but he's proven that he's not getting tied up by inside pitches.
You know, when he follows through that swing, Tom, and he brings that right arm out, it reminds me of the old Charlie Lau hitting. Remember Charlie Lau, the great hitting coach for the Royals, and they had some of his guys, George Brett for one.
I just it looked like from appearances that he had a long swooping swing that they could tie him up inside. But he's been in the major. I mean, he's had over 100 at bats now. By now, the scouting report would have got out, and they'd be killing him. And he's still hitting the ball well.
Well, you probably heard that they're talking about the lack of homers in the minors, 2 this year, and since he's been up with the big club, 6, and they talk about, well, it makes sense to me. The threads are tighter, the parks are smaller,
and they're lit better, better lighting.
For some guys, it hasn't been a surprise. Now, I have not seen that mentioned before he came up and hit homers. I just heard you don't want your corner outfielder to not be a home run hitter.
Well, I think we talked about this before. Remember Pete Rose talking about how the easiest place to hit is in major leagues?
Yeah.
And people said, what, are you crazy? He said, pitchers are always around the plate.
Yeah.
The threads are tighter. The ballparks are lit much better, so you can see the ball better.
Since the threads are tighter, you're not going to have nearly the swoop on your breaking pitches, I wouldn't think.
So that's interesting to think about. So that's my surprises. You didn't ask me, Jeff.
I didn't have to. You volunteered that information. I'm a little bit surprised at Winker. I guess it's because I was worried that there was too much hype. I wondered if he was very good or not, because the Reds, as position players in their farm system, was weak overall, and he was our best. So I wondered, does that mean he's really a major league player, or he's just the most mediocre guy we got of the mediocrity that we have? Is he just sort of the highest level mediocre guy we have, or can he really play at this level? And I think he can. We talked last show about my prediction of next year's lineup, and I think you try and lead off. if this guy can really hit up around 300 and get on base, have a good OBP, and be involved in stuff, then why not do something like that? We need to get Billy down in the lineup, and it just makes sense to me to do something like that. And I think it's who knows what they're going to do. So that surprises me a little bit, that he's hit like he has, because I just didn't know. I just kind of felt, is this just more hype than he's really is, or it's really hard to know till they get here. So it's good to see. I think Stevenson pitching well down the stretch. I'd kind of lost hope in him in terms of his attitude and so forth. They let him know how they feel about that, apparently, and he's bounced back from that. But it's like a lot of things, as you mentioned earlier, Cozart in the Peraza discussion. You've got these guys a lot of times take some time. They don't come up. Not too many guys come up and are like really, really good right away. They're not like playing like at the level of people who play in their prime their first couple of years. Most guys, some do. There's a few.
Well, the
but
Reds
most of them take time to develop.
The Reds have been so bad that they're developing in the major leagues instead of in AAA.
A little bit of that's true too, and we're impatient for it because, we look for we're losing, so we look at every position and want to figure out how we can fix it. But you said when the Reds last had their winning seasons, Cozart was a shortstop batting in the 240s and 220s.
Yes.
And we were like, it'd be nice if he hit better, but we were winning, so it wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
He had a good glove. But when you're not winning, the microscope hits every position a little more. And so we pick it. I think we pick it apart more because we don't have the W's that we're looking for. And that's okay. That's what you have to do to hopefully they're picking it apart as an organization too, trying to figure it out. So
let me ask you guys a question. So we got some positions. Votto's not going anywhere. Suarez has certainly established himself at third base.
I agree.
Has Barnhart established? Is he the catcher for the future?
Well, define future.
5 years.
Probably not. I think he's the starter next year and maybe another year. If he continues to play about like he is, he's solid. He gets the job done. But as soon as there's a guy they think who can come up and hit 25 homers and bat 280 and drive in a bunch of runs and still be good defensively, you're gonna do that. If you can find a guy better, and they've drafted some catching that they like, they traded for some even. So that's just how it works. But I'm comfortable with him being a catcher next year.
Well, I think general managers look at what's in the market, and then they compare it to every position. They try and upgrade everything they got, right?
Well, yeah, you always have to be.
If you could upgrade first base, you would. Now, that's not going to happen with the Reds.
No, there's not much there room to upgrade. But you're right. Overall, you have to do that. You have to constantly do that.
That's what general managers do.
It's how teams that get old in any sport, often that's because they're pretty good. They have good teams, and they get old because they get too loyal to players.
I think that actually happened to the Cardinals.
It did. It happened to the Lakers with Kobe Bryant. That's another example. Look at what the Patriots do.
Right.
Tom Brady's been there forever. But how many guys?
Richard Seymour was traded in his prime.
How many guys has Tom Brady played with?
Jamie Collins, the linebacker, was really good. They got rid of him to Cleveland because they don't have the New England way into their system.
Yeah.
Brady is the exception. Brady's the one that's still there, and you can't argue with that.
No.
You see why he's still there.
But all those other positions where the wear and tear
Yeah.
affects your performance more than it does at quarterback, you can play quarterback to an older age. And so this, how's that work in baseball? Well, you can play first base to an older age, or you can certainly DH to an older age.
That's not really playing. Well, and that's something to think about. as a middle infielder. I mean, Cozart's had that bad knee
Quad.
2 years ago, and then he's had the quad. And, every play, every pitch, he's getting in a squat position. And how long can you do that? I mean, which, by the way, is amazing. Cal Ripken lasted as long as he did.
Well, he was an exception to every rule.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just a big guy who was durable and didn't wear out and could play through all kinds of pain and still be productive.
So Cozart at 25 or 35, certainly just because of his position has to be on the decline.
Yeah, he would be. He's 32 now.
I thought he was 35.
No, he's 32.
I'm sorry.
He's 32. Started this year as a 31-year-old. He turned 32, I don't know, a month ago or so.
Okay.
And so those are the other thing that we were thinking about. If Winker's going to be in the lineup and playing in the outfield, it's a crowded outfield, and there's the Shebler-Duvall debate, and some would speculate that Shebler's got more in him. He hits the ball harder. He can make more progress going forward than Duvall. And then there was the Duvall stat of leaving more guys on base than anybody in baseball this year by
40.
By 40 some, almost 300 that he's left on base.
It's probably 300 now since that came out.
Yeah. And he's been bumped down. What's he batting now? Fifth?
He's batted down in the 7th hole already.
Was he?
Normally about 6th hole.
Okay. And then so we've seen that change. But you're thinking, oh, trade Duvall. He's put up good numbers, but other people are looking at the same stuff. What can you get for a guy? I don't know. I mean, he's been tremendous in left field.
Yes.
We know that. There's something to be said for some chemistry of your defense and so forth, but it's a lot of hard decisions to make. I really don't know what they're going to do.
Well, and Billy too. I mean, we were mentioning earlier that he's 33rd in Major League Baseball for center fielders as far as wins above replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that he's just not developing at the plate. Let's say it like it is.
And and I don't think he ever will because he doesn't hit the ball hard. It's not like he's been hitting it hard and getting robbed all these nights. Yeah. He just doesn't hit the ball that hard, and it's just never. Could Billy have a year where he hits 285? Yeah, but is he going to do that on a consistent basis? No.
Not from what we've seen.
And I read an article in Red Leg Nation about. What's a team out there that could really use somebody strong in the center field, somebody with a big outfield, and that's where they were talking about the Marlins. If they package up Hamilton with Iglesias, the Marlins could use a closer.
Right. Well, if some things we like to tout when we talk Big Red Machine days, things that'll come up in conversation about the 76 team and the batting average. Cesar Geronimo hit 307 that year, and we will he hit 307 that year. He hit 258 for his career.
Right.
So
Concepcion.
It was an anomaly. Concepcion probably had a good year that year too. So it's an anomaly. So Billy could have that anomaly kind of year, but he's not. He's just not going to hit it. He's just
the thing
not
about
going to be
Geronimo,
really
Geronimo could bat low all those other years because of the lineup.
Right.
And what he brought was a Gold Glove in center field.
Right.
And brought the Gold Glove up the middle with shortstop, second base, and catcher. We don't have that.
No,
like you said earlier, these sins, if you would, are more glaring, more prevalent.
Right. So moving down in the order, if he's down in the order, and we're in first place, and he's hitting 245, nobody cares.
Yeah, but if you're a general manager. And you're trying to upgrade every position.
Yeah.
I got to believe that's a target that's going to be easier to upgrade.
So you weigh it, what he brings you on the base paths and what he brings you out in center field. The other night, the first game against St. Louis, I was wondering why not Lorenzen another inning and then Iglesias? Well, we found out the next day Iglesias was sick. So you had Kevin Shackelford in there. Gives up a solo shot. If you look at the replay, the home run, not picking on your guy, but Shebs goes out in center field, jumps up, ticks off the left side of his glove, and it's over. And he was there in time. He just misjudged it a little. But would he have been there in time like Billy would have been there in time? Could have set his feet and catch it? No. So I just think that's what you have to weigh with Billy. I don't think anyone would disagree with the lack of hitting on his part.
Not showing up in the stats is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like
right.
EDP?
It's kind of like a basketball player. He does little things that doesn't always show up in the stats, but he brings so much value on the court.
Yeah, and Billy does. I think he's a legit big leaguer. He's just not a legit leadoff hitter.
So is he a 7th and 8th hitter?
Yeah.
Well,
I've been saying that all
we
year.
talked about this Monday. What La Russa did years ago is La Russa would bat a batter 9th and the pitcher 8th. You know why?
So be on base for your guys that bring RBIs.
Exactly. So when Albert Pujols came up in the third hole, he would have guys on base. So we're thinking Joey Votto. All these homers, not much ribbies, getting walked all the time. Put guys on base where the other teams can't walk him.
You can even bring Votto up into that second spot so he gets more at-bats.
You could, but get someone not named Duvall behind him. I like moving Scooter up. I would not mind Winker being there, and I certainly don't mind Suarez being there.
Suarez might be the guy to hit behind him.
Yeah, Duvall's started to exhibit a little bit of Jay Bruce being really hot or really cold, and although I don't know what Bruce's numbers are for the Indians, but they're probably pretty good because they've only lost once in 4 weeks, so they're probably pretty good. I know he's had some big hits in some of those wins, but I don't know what it's going to look like. I think Winker's a starter. I think Winker's in the opening day lineup somewhere.
Yeah,
I really do.
agree.
I think he has to be. I think, and I like leadoff. How much has he batted leadoff this year so far?
No, not a lot.
Just a few
6 times,
times.
maybe.
Yeah, just a few. But then he got hurt. But you might see him bat leadoff some here down the
What's
stretch.
interesting, you mentioned him and you mentioned Stevenson. Both those guys this season, I won't say they were in Brian Price's doghouse, but for some reason they weren't playing. Remember, I mentioned, and you've read it, Stevenson, 13 games without getting in the field. Finally, they stick him in there in a bullpen row, and he got rocked, and they sent him down. 13 straight games where you're not out there.
Yeah.
The same thing with Winker. How many hashtags did we see free Winker, where he wasn't playing? And if you're not going to play him, send him back down. Finally, they did. He came back up, and he started playing. Then with the injuries, it made it easier to play him. Mm-hmm. And then he had the hip issue, so he was on the 10-day Yale, so he missed some games there.
Bullpen, I think, is an interesting thing next year to think about because I think we thought we had this awesome bullpen early in the year, and they were really good, but it hasn't been quite the same bunch down since the All-Star break at least. I think Iglesias is a legit closer unless we decide to trade him for something we can't turn down. I think Lorenz is going to stay in the pen. I think they'll look at it, but I don't think he'll be a starter.
He certainly hasn't performed good enough to beat these other young kids we're talking about.
I just don't think he will be. I think Finnegan will be in that bullpen if he's healthy.
Peralta?
And Peralta.
Now,
Yeah.
do you think that maybe they've waned as the seasons went on because they're young? And,
Possibly.
And they're not used to a full 162 game schedule?
It's that. It takes, I think it takes a year or two to get used to that, I think, for some of these guys. But maybe not, but not all of them. I think players are different. You have to look at guys and judge, what can this guy do for the long haul. Probably smart to save those arms of Castillo and Molly. Probably smart to do. They've thrown more innings than they've ever thrown, I guess. Not by a lot, but
well, Castillo maybe 30 innings, but Molly was only 13 innings, and that was a question mark. But so I don't know why. I haven't heard the reason why, but you just get okay. I'm okay with that. You sitting there in the dugout
Doesn't hurt
learning.
anything. I mean, right?
No, it doesn't.
Why not?
It doesn't hurt anything at this point.
It'd be nice to see 2 more starts.
Yeah, but they've proven what they can do, and we'll see going forward what they can do. And it's just going to be interesting in spring training. I'll be looking forward to that when it gets started and so forth.
It'll be fun in the off season too, frankly, to see who gets moved where and what happens.
So who do you think's going to win the World Series? What?
The easy thing is Indians and Dodgers in the World Series, but
What
I don't
about
think the
Astros?
Dodgers.
What about the Astros?
I don't think the Dodgers will. I think the Nationals are playing better right now than the Dodgers, and I always go with the hot teams going in the playoffs. But Indians, unless something really weird happens, they're so hot.
Okay, if this were our Reds, I would be the cynic side of me would be we peaked too soon. So I would wonder about that. And I spoke to Jim Clark, our friend, Indians fan, and he's wondering the same thing, he and Teresa. But, I look at the rotations that have the best starting pitching staff, and you give me three guys. And so I think the Dodgers and I think the Astros.
The Dodgers starters have not pitched well lately.
I'm thinking big picture, not just lately. And let's say whatever it is, they ride it out. I don't know. But I think the Dodgers and the Astros have a starting pitching staff that you can go with a 3-man rotation and then make it a short series, and you maximize your chances.
Joe Morgan was talking the other night, all of us have said how much we enjoy listening to him. Yeah. And he was saying how with this new wild card format, you got the wild card teams that play right away, and your number 1 seed gets that time off, right? And then have 3, 4, 5 days off, and then have to go face that wild card team who just came off a win, right? And he said you can see how things have went. The wild card teams have done well just because of that format. And so I feel like I hear you you're right. The great pitchers seem to always shine in the playoffs, but the hot teams, you don't have to be the best team 162 games.
Our friend Brian Hansen, big time Cubs fan, 2 years ago he was rah rah rah, and I remember sitting there thinking, but you're going against the Mets, you're going against DeGrom,
right?
You're going against Syndergaard,
yeah.
And you're going against Harvey. And they had a guy, Steve Matz, who really didn't get to sniff the field, and Steve Matz has good stuff. And sure enough, that year, the Mets went to play the Royals, and then they just came into a hot ball club in the Royals. Mm-hmm. I wish we had 3 starters like that you could say, you throw them out there, and you feel good about your chances every
Even the Dodgers
game.
had to go out and buy Darvish.
You Darvish, yeah.
Because then you put your number 4 guy, out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
And
for long relief.
Speaking of which, you've heard lately how well Cingrani's been performing.
Yeah.
Incredibly well. I mean, just not a little block. I mean, X amount of high strikeouts in few innings is like.
Did you read the article about what happened? About how they told him to throw more sliders.
Yeah.
He increased the sliders, and it's been all the difference.
So not a good look.
So why didn't we tell him that?
Well, Tom's our pitching.
Come on.
Well, it said in the article that the Reds don't have near the analytics and sabermetrics that the Dodgers do.
Good point, Tom.
Oh, okay.
Woba.
All right.
Woba plus.
Yeah. All right. Let's get with it, Reds.
Yeah.
Let's get on the stick here, and let's get this metric stuff going, and let's win instead of this playing around winning 72 games or whatever we're going to win, or 7. Are we going to win 70 games?
Well, we had the prediction in the beginning of the
all
year.
of us are going to be wrong.
I said 70 to 76, but now our last 15 games are against teams that are in the race. The Brewers, the Cubs, and the Cards. And they've got everything to play for.
I don't think we're going to hit
We've
70.
shut down pitchers. No,
Are we
I don't
65? Is that what it was? I can't remember. We saw it before the game started. 60-some wins.
I don't know.
10
Whatever
games
it
left.
is, it ain't enough.
Because then you got to play the Red Sox, who are still in the race.
Yeah. The Reds.
Okay,
the Reds currently have 66 dubs.
So they'd have to go more than 500 or better.
Yeah.
500 would get you to 71 wins.
So next year, opening day, in Dayton, who's on the mound?
In Dayton?
Dayton.
Well, they don't know if what's
Hunter
his name
Green
is going to go to Dayton or Daytona. Yeah.
Ooh, we got to have him here for like 6 weeks.
Come on.
It's starting low A or high A?
Yeah, show us a little love. Come on.
Because when we go to watch a Dragons game and look at a particular pitcher, how well they do.
It may not go well.
DeSclafani, he may never see the field again.
I guess after I'm watching balls leave the ballpark and bouncing over the walls,
Well,
yeah, I start grabbing my shoulder, my elbow.
He's still recovering from whiplash from that night.
Yeah, that's
Wow, that was an unbelievable.
Yeah, you're on a
All
roll
those home
tonight. Too
runs
bad we
that
only
hit.
get a few of these on the audio here.
Oh, my. So, was it Bark in the Park night at the Reds game? Yes, we're sitting here doing this while watching the
I guess you get
Reds
more
lose
fans
to the
that
Cardinals
way.
4-1, and there's all these dogs around.
Did they ticket him?
Well, I said this was the dog days of September. It was hot today. I was outside all day, and I'm not in the greatest of moods or weird mood because of it. I think I'm dehydrated.
Check more water.
I think I need an IV. You guys hook me up?
There's your water.
There's my water. I'm gonna get some water. And is it cooled off any this evening?
Yeah, it is. Are you gonna go out for a run?
Do I look like I'm gonna go out for a run? Do I look like I ever go out for a run? So, did you like that Skyline chili we had for lunch the other day, Tom?
Love Skyline Chili.
That was yesterday, actually.
We missed you, Kim.
I had 9, 10, and 1 o'clock, so
And he doesn't
wasn't going
like-
to work out.
He didn't like Skyline anyway.
I know it's an acquired taste.
Yes. Tom got his inverted. Do you know what that means?
He got his what?
He got his inverted. Do you know what that means?
No.
Well, usually
Upside
you get
down?
Yeah, it means upside down.
There you go.
The cheese on the bottom, and then then the sauce, and then the spaghetti on the top.
Yeah. They do it regular, then they flip it over to another plate back in the back room.
Ooh, do they charge you for that extra plate?
Hope not.
No.
Well, my wife and the only time I've gone, my wife and I went with our sponsor and his wife.
Yes.
Lo and behold, I wake up the next morning. True story. I had vertigo. So I was very intimate with that trash can for about an hour and a half. It was disastrous.
Oh.
So has nothing to do with the food in all likelihood, but the correlation is still there in my mind.
That's kind of how I am.
And I
with,
do think of
chocolate fudge.
when I think of chili, I think of hot chili with saltine crackers and something like
That's
that.
why we have that all the time in the fall.
It's different. It has a.
It is different.
It has a.
It's spaghetti is what it is.
Yeah, it has Greek roots.
Okay.
It does. If you
It
read
does.
the front of the menu, it tells you about it and how somebody in Greece, whatever, how they used to cook stuff, and they started doing it that way here, and it became Cincinnati chili.
Okay.
So I'm not making that
I'm
up.
glad you guys got to go.
You make stuff up. No, you don't. Tom says you make stuff
I
up.
make it. Yeah, yeah, he does. When he reads my tweets or my texts.
But I'm not making it up. Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick look at a baseball card, and then we're going to wrap this thing up, maybe. Do-do-do. All right. Carl Morton, pitcher for the Braves. Red-headed with a mustache. The nice posed shot with the lowercase a on the hat.
Mm-hmm. Classic.
For Atlanta.
Tom wants to know what that thing is on the side.
It's a feather.
We
It's
told him
always
that.
been a feather.
I know.
I never even.
I had no idea what it was.
What's it look like, Tom?
I had no idea it was a feather.
What else would it be? They're
I had
the
no
Braves.
idea. That's why I was asking. What the heck is that thing?
It's a feather.
It
I
doesn't
never
look
even
like.
thought about it. He just knew that it was a feather.
It doesn't look like a feather at all.
Okay.
Do you know the guy that used to come out of the TP, not in Cleveland, and
Yeah.
from Atlanta?
Sure, I
You know his
remember
name?
Chief Nakahoma.
Chief
Yeah.
Nakahoma. Okay, okay.
Absolutely.
I
All right.
wouldn't go over today, by the way.
No.
So Carl Morton was a pitcher for the Braves at the time. Had pitched also for the Expos previously. Well, the note on the back of this card neatly ties in with our Bumpus Jones Day. I'm just so excited. All right. The first Sunday games permitted in the National League were played in
Cincinnati?
1892. So, I don't know that October 15, 1892. I don't know if that was a Sunday or not. I don't remember.
Probably look it up.
Probably could. At any rate, so it says, there's in the little cartoon, there's a sign on the wall next to the entrance to a stadium that says, next game this Sunday. And the guy going in, of course, is wearing a coat and tie and a hat, going to a Sunday game. I'm sure they were all dressed up for that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have our vintage game celebrating 1892. It's going to be on a Sunday afternoon. But in the 1860s, they wouldn't have played on a Sunday.
So does this mean when the batter is batting and the umpire is behind the catcher that we'll have a photographer just about 6 feet away on one knee taking pictures? Will we have that?
I don't know. I don't know if they do that.
October 15th, 1892 was a Saturday.
Was a Saturday. Wow.
But
Well,
if
that just
they had
ruins.
leap year back then. See, it could have
It
changed.
just ruins
things.
the whole thing for me. I'm just devastated that it was a Saturday.
Call it off.
But it's a great time.
Forget the whole thing.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna do it.
You won't be watching your Bengals anyway, will you?
No,
Probably not.
watch them. Yeah. Okay, there's two things in sports that need to happen: the DH in baseball, and no more field goals. I hate field goals. That's all they kick. I've hated field goals forever.
Well, if it wasn't for field goals,
ever since Horst Muhlman was kicking field goals for the Bengals in the 1970s, I've hated field goals.
What was his
With
name?
just Horst Muhlman,
I remember that.
just go for
But if it wasn't for field
touchdowns.
goals, they'd have no points.
Well, maybe we might have made it on fourth down. You'll never know.
I thought you were going to say they need to get rid of the DH and Marvin Lewis.
Well, you could do that too. That'd be the third thing. I don't know. I've been a Marvin Lewis defender of Marvin Lewis for a long time, but
I certainly have to. But the last 2 years, it's been time. It's time.
I feel like a Jets fan.
So let's not go there. Let's not. That requires therapy. We just can't go there. Okay. Our friend Dr. Helmick said, you guys need to pep it up sometimes. So we're going to pep it up. So I'm going to say, as we close the year, it's been a rough year. I'm very optimistic about next year. I really am. The pitching excites me. We have some pieces that maybe are marketable, and maybe you trade for a guy, bring someone in. I will say, good chance we won't have Duvall and Shebler next year. Good chance. I'm not going to say 80-20. I think it's a good opportunity that those guys are going to be
Something's gonna
discussed.
Let's throw Billy in there. Throw him in that list.
Bring us Robles from Washington, and I'll give you Iglesias and Billy.
And Winker.
And who? No, you don't get Winker.
Winkler?
Winkler? Oh, what about Peralta or Peraza?
That's only a couple letters, so give me a break.
Well. Anyway, it's pretty cool. We're closing in on 500 total downloads of this show. This is our 19th episode, so that's pretty cool. Appreciate
The sponsor
everybody.
has about 400 of them, right?
Yeah, I appreciate all the. We appreciate all the people that listen a little bit and share it with people. Let them know. That'd be great. If you live in around near Cedarville, you can drive here. If it's no more than a 2-day drive, please come on October 15th. No, I'm being ridiculous.
We can take you down. We can take you to Mom and Dad's.
We'll be signing autographs at Beans and Cream.
Get a milkshake.
We will.
The breakfast before the game.
Well, maybe we'll be there.
They're open till 3 on Sundays.
Yes. Kim knows where the Bumpus's gravestone is. He'd be happy to take you over there and show it to you. Take selfies around it and everything. Anyway, so we'll get together here again after the season's over. We're just running out of stuff to talk about. We'll talk about everything.
Big sigh.
Big sigh. Well, that's kind of the way this season feels. It's a big sigh.
But you know what? It really
good.
doesn't.
It's some good stuff. Some.
It's interesting though.
We're just impatient. I'm impatient.
And I'm for bringing Price back. I am. No matter who you have managing this group, they're not going to win games. But you don't hear that being questioned anymore. You don't see that on Twitterverse. People criticizing Price for every move and da-da-da-da. I like that. You made your decision. We're going to go with it. Now the focus is on getting this team better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good things are happening, guys.
Good things are happening.
I believe it.
You are.
I do.
Mr.
I'm excited
Positivity.
about this pitching staff.
Okay.
Hey, we will be very excited next spring. You know we will.
We will be.
Oh yeah. Spring.
Why don't we plan a trip to Arizona?
That
We'll
would be
build up our
amazing.
flyer miles and we'll go out for like 3 days.
I have no flyer miles.
That would be amazing. Look at Jeff looks exasperated with
I have
that
no
thought.
flyer miles. I don't fly that much to have miles. I'm not.
Tom does. Tom would transfer some over to you.
Oh, Willie.
So that would be a lot of fun.
It would be.
If we weren't so broken down, we could do the fantasy thing. fantasy camp.
Yeah. Well, our mayor Bob Fudge, who's helping put this putting this game on for the Bumpus Jones Day, he went to Reds fantasy camp.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. He had a good time.
I think he would be a good guy to bring in as a guest.
We'll do that.
Guest on our show.
We'll do that. Maybe we'll do one after the game or something and talk
I think
talk
that'd be
about
great.
it. It'd be fun to do. Yeah, he would have fun doing that. So he just lives about 4 doors from me, so
He could walk down.
He can walk over. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up. We'll be back soon after the season ends to tie a ribbon around this season. Read the obituary for this season, and look forward with great hope for next season.
That's right.
So until
Because no matter what,
go Reds.
go Reds.
Go Reds.